Hey everyone, before we dive into this story, please consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. Now, let's get started. That I lingered in the doorway of our suburban house, watching my husband stride away, his suitcase scraping along the gravel path. Make sure to lock the door, he tossed back, his voice blending confidence with distraction. We're relying on you. I managed a brittle smile, one that felt like it might shatter my expression, and gave a nod. Have a safe trip, I called, my voice empty as the door clicked shut behind him. The house stretched around me, vast and silent. My in-laws were somewhere inside, likely meddling with my life once more. I turned the key with a sharp snap, the sound reverberating in my chest like a judge's gavel. That's when it struck me. How had my world unraveled into this? A series of tiny surrenders, each eroding the person I once was. I'm a graphic designer, or at least that's what I remind myself when I'm not juggling roles as housekeeper, chef, or target for my in-laws' relentless demands. Years ago, I was a visionary, sketching daring campaigns, dreaming of a future with my husband filled with joy and late-night conversations. We'd barely settled into married life when his parents arrived uninvited, their car packed with luggage and self-assured grins. Just a short stay, they promised, but months dragged on, transforming our cozy home into their domain. I stepped into the kitchen, my laptop buried beneath my father-in-law's golf magazines and my mother-in-law's abandoned knitting. The clutter was a quiet takeover, a sign that my space, my life, no longer belonged to me. Dear, could you brew some tea? My mother-in-law's voice drifted from the living room, sharp and commanding. My jaw clenched, but I set the kettle on, the water sizzling against the metal. Each demand felt like a challenge, and I was faltering, not because I couldn't manage, but because I was losing sight of who I was defending. I glanced at the pile of bills on the dining table, their edges curling like silent accusations. My husband's reassurances, they're just old-fashioned, things will improve, felt empty now. I loved him, or at least I thought I did, but his refusal to confront them was a betrayal I couldn't overlook. As the kettle hummed, I stared out at the tree-lined street, wondering if I'd ever reclaim the serenity I'd envisioned when we bought this house. As newlyweds, I'd imagined our home as a haven, a place for friends, maybe even a family someday. Now, every corner bore my in-laws' mark. My father-in-law's loud voice broke my thoughts as I sat at the dining table, struggling to focus on a client project. Come join us in the living room, he said, not requesting, never requesting. I carried the tea to my mother-in-law, who accepted it without a glance, her eyes glued to the television. Your work's going well, I hear, my father-in-law remarked, his tone heavy with judgment as he eyed my messy bun and rumpled shirt. Good for you. But don't neglect your responsibilities here. Responsibilities? My mother-in-law chimed in, her smile cutting. A home needs care. I nodded, swallowing the urge to retort. They'd always been this way, acting entitled, as if raising my husband granted them ownership over our lives. They'd retired early, their savings drained by poor investments, and now they depended on us, mostly on me. My husband's job kept him away, leaving me to handle their demands. I slipped away to my laptop, but their voices trailed after me, a steady drone of critique. The dishwasher's acting up again, my mother-in-law called later that day. It's fine when your husband's here. I marched to the kitchen, my patience wearing thin. He doesn't even use it, I said tightly. He never cleans. Her eyes narrowed. That's because he works hard, unlike some who stay home all day. I tinkered with the dishwasher, my hands trembling, not from the appliance, but from her words' weight. My father-in-law leaned in the doorway, smirking. You'd avoid these issues if you did things properly. I slammed the dishwasher shut. Maybe you could pitch in for once, I snapped. He chuckled, the sound grating. We're guests. It's your job to keep us comfortable. That night, my husband called, his voice weary but kind. Everything okay? He asked. I wanted to scream, to tell him how his parents were smothering me. But his gentle, we'll talk later, okay, stopped me. Later never arrived. On a whim, I checked my credit card statement and my heart froze. Thousands in charges, lavish dinners, designer clothes, none of it mine. I called him, my voice shaking. Did you use my card? He paused, then confessed. My parents needed some things. They thought it was okay. Okay, I shouted. They spent thousands. His mother's voice cut in from the background. We're family. What's yours is ours. I hung up, my hands trembling, a fire sparking in my chest. This wasn't just about money, it was about control, and I was done surrendering it. The days blurred into a fog of work and resentment. I poured myself into my projects, finding refuge in deadlines and client praise. My colleagues noticed, especially my friend Ryan. You're killing it, he said one afternoon, leaning against my desk. What's your trick? I forced a laugh. Survival. At home, the chaos escalated. My in-laws reorganized my office without asking, claiming it was too messy. My mother-in-law's voice dripped with superiority. It's better now. I stood in the doorway, staring at my displaced belongings, feeling like an outsider in my own home. Dinner was another skirmish. You should take cooking lessons. My father-in-law smirked over his plate. Your food needs work. I gripped my fork, my voice icy but steady. Maybe you should be thankful I'm cooking at all. My husband squirmed, muttering, let's just eat. I wanted to shake him, to make him see how his silence enabled them. Then came another blow. A bank statement showing a $1,200 spa package charged to my account. I stormed into the living room, waving the paper. You did it again, I shouted. My mother-in-law didn't look up from her knitting. Calm down, dear. We deserved a treat. My father-in-law shrugged. It's family money. I turned to my husband, my eyes pleading, but he only said, we'll figure it out, okay? I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. Work became my sanctuary, and when management offered me a promotion to senior graphic designer, I seized it like a lifeline. The extra hours meant less time at home, and I leaned into the support of my colleagues, especially Ryan, who always knew when I needed encouragement. One night, working late, he found me in the empty office. You okay? He asked, his concern genuine. I shook my head, the weight of everything spilling out. It's my in-laws. They're taking over my life. He listened, not pushing, just present. That small kindness reminded me what support felt like, something my husband had forgotten. One morning, I found a note in my mother-in-law's ornate handwriting taped to the front door. Gone for a week. Back soon. No warning, no discussion. I stepped inside to a chaotic house. Dishes stacked in the sink, magazines scattered across the living room. I opened my credit card bill and my blood boiled. Thousands more charged for their spontaneous trip. I called my husband, my voice trembling with fury. You took them to Vegas with my money? He stammered. I thought I mentioned it. I hung up, my hand shaking. That was the breaking point. The spark of resolve I'd felt for weeks ignited into a blaze. I wasn't just going to endure this. I was going to reclaim my life. In the quiet of my office, surrounded by my in-laws' mess, I made a choice. I was done letting them control me. The next morning, I called a lawyer, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I need to discuss selling a house, I said, booking an urgent meeting. Then I contacted a real estate agent. I want it listed now. How soon can we move? Sensing my urgency, the agent replied, with the market this hot, we can list it today. I spent the next few days packing, moving with a purpose I hadn't felt in months. Each box I sealed was a step toward liberation, a rejection of the life they'd imposed on me. I found a small downtown apartment, cozy with big windows and no trace of my in-laws' clutter. I signed the lease, paid the deposit, and for the first time in months, I could breathe. I ignored my husband's calls and texts begging to talk. His words were hollow now, promises broken by his inaction. I worked with the lawyer to draft divorce papers, ensuring every detail was airtight. The real estate agent called with updates. We're getting interest already. This could move fast. I nodded, my determination solidifying. Make it happen. The night before my in-laws' return, I walked through the house one last time. The memories of what it was meant to be our home, our future, stung, but I pushed them aside. I left a note under the mat. We're done. The key clicked in the lock as I closed the door, the sound final, like a book slamming shut. I moved into my new apartment, arranging my belongings exactly as I wanted, with no one to criticize or rearrange. The real estate agent called the next day. We have a buyer, above asking price, ready to close quickly. I smiled, a weight lifting. Do it. When my husband and his parents returned, I was ready. My phone buzzed as I stood in my new apartment, the city lights twinkling outside. What's going on? We can't get in, my husband shouted, his voice panicked. I sold the house, I said, calm and cold. It's done. His mother's voice screeched in the background. You can't do this. We'll fight you. I laughed, a sound that surprised even me. Go ahead. The paperwork's ironclad. I hung up, my heart pounding with triumph and relief. They'd pushed me too far, and now they'd face the consequences. The fallout was swift. My husband and his parents scrambled to find a place, ending up in a cheap motel on the town's edge. Mutual friends told me they complained about the thin walls and bad coffee, their entitled confidence crumbling. I didn't care. My new life was taking shape, and it was mine alone. At work, my promotion brought fresh challenges, but I thrived, surrounded by colleagues who valued me. Ryan noticed the change. You're glowing, he said one day, grinning. What's different? I smiled. For the first time in months, I'm free. My in-laws tried to fight back, threatening lawsuits, but my lawyer was prepared. They've got nothing, she assured me. You're clear. Their threats fizzled, their public humiliation growing as neighbors gossiped about the family evicted by their own daughter-in-law. I felt no guilt, only satisfaction. They'd taken my money, my space, my peace, and I'd taken it all back. One evening, my husband appeared at my apartment, his face worn. Can we talk? He pleaded. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. You had your chance. You chose them. His eyes fell, defeated. I didn't know it would get this bad. I shook my head, but it did. Sign the papers. He did, his hand shaking, and I closed the door, the finality washing over me like a tide. Life moved on. I threw myself into work, savoring the creative freedom and my team's support. One night, a younger colleague, Ethan, invited me to dinner. I hesitated, then agreed, surprised by the spark in my chest. Over pasta and wine, we laughed and talked, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. You seem happy, he said, his eyes warm. I am, I replied, and I meant it. Our dinners became a routine, each one a reminder that I could choose who entered my life. One night, sitting in my apartment with the city lights sparkling outside, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. The chaos was gone, replaced by a quiet strength. I'd fought for my freedom and won, not just against my in-laws, but for myself. The future lay open before me, brimming with possibility, and I was ready to shape it on my own terms. Thank you for hearing my story. Your support means the world as I share this journey, and I hope it inspires you to reclaim your own strength, no matter the odds.